Hey guys, it's Simone coming in before an episode. If you guys are aware, have been listening to us for a while, or even just recently, you know we always talk about living here in Florida. If you follow our socials, even though I'm not consistent at all, I talked about the most recent episodes like this one we had pre-recorded. We're going to be delayed because a hurricane was on its way and it just passed as I'm recording this PSA, Hurricane Ian. And I'm not gonna lie, this hurricane did a lot. It's very devastating. Devastated Cuba, the southwest region of Florida, and central Florida, which is really surprising because I think when it hit the central Florida area, it became a tropical storm. But just like with the southwest, and I believe Cuba as well, there is just like a lot of flooding that happened. A lot of flooding I don't think any of us were expecting, especially those that don't live near the beach, like the coastal area of Florida. Because in like Orlando, if you're familiar with Orlando, or if you just like pull up Florida on the map, that is very inward of the state where all the attractions like Disney World and Universal are. And like even just that area, like they got so much flooding, you would really think that like places that used to be neighborhoods, were lakes because they just look like lakes and ponds at the moment. So thankfully, I am okay. And the rest of the hosts are okay. They said their families are doing well also, so that's good. If anyone is listening to this that reside in Florida as well, I hope you and your family members are doing okay as well. I just know for now, it's just a lot of cleanup, a lot of assessing the damages. And yeah, again, I don't really even know how to explain it. We really just weren't expecting Ian to hit us like this. Like, of course, we're expecting damage because it's a hurricane, but just nothing along this. Like, even in my area and city, I don't think the town has ever been flooded like it is. I even asked my dad, because we've been in Florida our whole lives, and like we went through those major hurricanes back in the early 2000s, and even he said that those three hurricanes did none of the damage like Ian did here. So I'm not even trying to be funny. If this doesn't show you that global warming is a real thing, then I don't know what to say anymore. So we will just see how, I was going to say the next couple weeks, but honestly, it just might be the next couple months go as far as the cleanup, trying to restore power to people, trying to find people in case they I don't even really want to say, but you know what I'm trying to. If there's any resources that people may know to help others that have been hit severely, not even just here in Florida, but in Cuba as well, don't hesitate to share. I would love to share myself. And yeah, I just hope you guys are safe and we will get through this. But I hope these episodes can help you take your mind off of it a little bit. Enjoy our hour or two of just entertainment. So that's all I really wanted to say. Not really religious. I don't know if I've ever said that before, but I'm hoping for everyone's well-being.
Hi, and welcome back to I Was Thinking. I'm Nafis.
I'm an alien superstar. You don't get that reference, do you?
I don't. Where's that from?
Get cultured! That is a song from Beyonce's album Renaissance. Unique. Yeah, all that good stuff. I was
Oh,
listening to
okay.
it before we started, so that's why. One of my favorite songs off
Gotcha.
that album. I'm Simone.
I haven't heard Beyonce in such a long time, though.
The Beehive might come for me if I say this.
Hmm.
You know what? I'm just gonna say it's fine. I. It's not like I'm not a big Beyonce fan. It's just that I feel like she is an artist that you need to listen to her albums, and I'm more of a singles girl. So that's why,
Oh.
especially early Beyonce albums, unless it's like really popular ones, like songs
Mhm.
you hear on the radio, I know, but like, yeah. But like, as I've gotten older and listened to more albums, I've taken the time to listen to her new one, and it's really good. So,
Awesome. Yeah, I don't listen to albums either. Whatever's on the radio, that's what I know.
I mean, I don't even listen to the radio anymore.
Really?
No, I feel like we've talked about this.
Yeah, we probably have. I turned on the radio after a really long time, like last week, only because my phone was dead and I could not use Spotify. So, yeah, I'm a heavy Spotify user these days.
Well, I use Apple Music. But anyway, we're not here to talk about music. Defease, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you? Stressed, but good.
Yeah, same. You know, I feel like I was a little, not self deprecating, but just like, I'm trying not to be, the world is on fire today, even though it always
Yeah.
is. But that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just have to take it one day at a time.
Just one day at a time, in a little bit better mood. So that's good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Everything's going well with you, with teaching and all that. I know we haven't talked in a while, so.
Yeah, just lovely. We had a lockdown the other day because there was a potential active shooter on campus.
Oh my God. I was literally watching the news the other day, and a school in my city, same thing.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for you guys and these kids, because it's like, I feel like you guys at this point are having like PTSD, like you're in like military training.
Yeah.
It's so sad. I feel so bad for you guys.
No, it is pretty bad because like when this actually happened not last Friday. Sorry, not Friday. Wednesday, but the Wednesday before. It was seventh period. Do you realize how kids are seventh period? They are like their most hyper form.
Because they know they're about to go home.
Right. And then trying to get them to like sit down and be quiet in the dark is like a task in itself. But the thing is, though, there actually was a threat. It wasn't like, it wasn't a drill because that's how they started off. But no, they were going like classroom to classroom with like, you know how it is like in the movies where they have like that gun and they just like, wave it around to see what's going on. Like all military stuff, like they did that. So they came to our classroom and oh my gosh, when that door opened, because we didn't know they were coming around classroom to classroom, my heart stopped. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, I know the one here, I think they had to all go outside, like it was a bomb threat, something about a kid, like they had a threat a couple days ago, so they were being cautious, and then like they got worried because a kid ran out when they were having lunch in the cafeteria and screamed something, so they basically just like evacuated everybody, and I'm like, that's...
Yeah. Yeah, but like thankfully, so we were all in the dark for like a whole hour. So definitely way past school time, like school ending time.
That's scary.
Yeah, but oh my gosh. It was, yeah. But like now though, whenever we're like on campus, like that's something I actually look out for when I'm planning like activities and things like that. Like if we do something outside, how close is the nearest building for us to like just run into? So it's like more thoughtfulness as far as like planning and things like that. But other than that, it's been okay. A little bit stressed because we have a shortage of teachers, but it's working out.
Okay, I just... no matter how much we talk about this right now, there's just no solution. So I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How's work with you?
Girl, I hate my job. Anyway, we have a topic for today.
On a lighter note.
Yeah, let's get back to the lighter notes of the show, guys. We won't get too deep into real life. So yeah, we're talking about a TV show today. We're doing a TV show review. I guess I am a liar because last time we talked, I said our next show was going to be Kingdom, and it's not.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all can blame Nafis for that. No, it's fine. Because I asked you, I was like, so next time we record, you want to do Kingdom? She's like, I actually want to do something else. I'm just like, oh, question mark?
I did want to do Kingdom. I still do. It's just that I kind of want to rewatch it, and I just have not had the chance to sit down and rewatch it. Just
You're
because
fine.
It's so intricate, like, of what goes on. So, yeah.
I'm just messing with you a little bit, but that is fine, you know? Plus, I talked about wanting to do this show anyway, so it's good we're doing it now.
It works out.
Exactly. So we are doing Yumi Cells today. We are doing season 1. So we will also do season 2, but we just figured there's so much to talk about with the show. We need to separate it. So right now we're talking about season 1, and then just look out for season 2. When we do season 1, you're definitely either going to have to listen to this one or watch season 1 so you understand what we're talking about, because even in the show, they kind of pick up right after season 1.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what's going on, you won't know what's going on.
Correct. Yeah, they quite literally pick up.
Yeah, there's no like recap or anything. It's just like, all right, this is what happened at that last episode of season 1. We're getting straight into it.
Yeah.
Which I actually kind of appreciate. So
they did that with The Incredibles too, but that's a side thing. Anyway. But yeah.
Incredibles the movie?
Yeah, Incredibles 1 and 2.
It's been so long since I've seen either of those. I don't remember.
Yeah. No, the thing was with The Incredibles, like the gap between the first one and the second one was like pretty big. So people were kind of like skeptical how it would turn out, but like
it was like 10 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. But surprisingly, they did a good job of sticking with the same, storyline. But anywho, so yes, like Simone was saying, we're doing Yumi Cells, which I surprisingly enjoyed because I didn't expect myself to enjoy it.
I told you would like it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, the thing is, before you mentioned it, though, like I would see the recaps and like the little clips on like YouTube and everything, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'd always just skip it. Like, I don't know, it just never piqued my interest. But then when you said, oh, let's talk about it, I need someone to talk about it with, I'm like, okay. And so I gave it a try. It probably took like 1 or 2 episodes for me to actually like gain interest in it. I'm like, okay, this seems pretty cool. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was interested from the get-go because I've mentioned before 1,000 times, I read webtoons. So this was a webtoon I was reading for like the longest time. And like, I was so sad when it ended, even though it went on forever. Did you write down any information about the webtoon or no?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I mean, while you're talking, will we get into it? I could do some quick research. But yeah, so I was already reading the webtoon, and then when they announced the show, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so interesting. And I wasn't sure how they were going to do it because when I started watching like K-dramas, I haven't really seen a lot of like animation before, so I didn't know how they were going to portray the cells. I was kind of afraid like how they do some American shows here where like they make it, live action. Yeah. And I was like, the way they're drawn and just like the scenarios that happen, that'd be really disappointing if it was, but I'm so happy it wasn't. Like, it was actually drawn out animation. So I really like how they, did it. And I think it portrayed the webtoon really well. Of course, like any type of adaptation, especially if it's like a book or graphic novel, things are going to be left out. But as far as the main story, I feel like they did a really good job at sticking with it. So it's one of my favorite like webtoons, and I feel like shows. I'd probably put it up there as my new top 10.
A 10 out of 10?
No, my new top 10.
Oh, your new top 10.
As top 10 shows.
Gotcha.
That I really enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other reasons, though, why I gave this one a shot was because of the main lead. Like, Kim Go-eun, like, she's done Goblin. I loved Goblin. And
I started watching that and I never finished.
Really?
Oh God, did I even finish the first episode of that? I think that was around the time I was trying to find stuff, but like I wasn't really interested in anything. Maybe I'll go back and try to rewatch it.
No, I loved her in Goblin. Like, I loved Goblin. That story was just so epic. And then I saw her in, it was the other one you recommended me. She's in the Trap, I believe it's called. Loved her in that too.
She's in that?
Yeah.
Who does she play?
She's the main lead.
Oh my God, is she really?
Yeah.
It's been so long since I watched She's in the Trap, Nafis. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe because her hair color was different.
Yeah,
I didn't recognize.
Like red or something. Reddish,
okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, because that was around the time I was still new to web drama. So I recognized one of the characters from weightlifting. That weightlifting show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the full name.
Fairy. I don't know the full name.
Yes, because the main girl in that show is also in that. So I was more focused on her. Yes.
Yeah, she was second lead in that show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I'll definitely need to go back and rewatch it. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in a new show as well. The girl who plays Yumi, that's starting to come out on Netflix. There's a show
it's called
Little Woman.
Little Woman, yeah.
No idea what that's about.
Me neither, but I'm interested. I'm going to wait until all the episodes come out to watch it. So
of course you are.
I can't.
I heard Netflix might get rid of binging.
Really?
They might go into. I've been hearing rumors because they want to start adding ads because they've been losing tons of money. So they might start going into once a week. Although they've been doing that for Korean dramas anyway. They've been doing 2 episodes a week. But other shows, they might stop dropping full seasons. I've been hearing the rumor mill going around. So we'll see. Well,
whatever the case, I'm going to wait until they all come out.
Okay.
Yeah, because that would be crazy if they just got rid of it as it dropped. Like, that's weird.
What's funny? I saw a tweet. I wish I remembered the username, but like they were talking about basically like how all these companies are doing mergers now. They're all going to become one big company called Cable. Things you see how things go back.
History repeats itself. I see.
History repeats itself. There we go. I couldn't think of it.
Oh my goodness. You know, like I was thinking about it because I was having this conversation with a coworker the other day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm keeping up with this show and this show," and they're on like 3 different subscription sites, and I'm like, you might as well just pay for cable and like get it all at once, but. You also have like the flexibility to go to pick whatever you want to watch instead of like going by a certain timing, but I don't know.
Yeah. It's different in cable because you don't have to be on a time slot, and like if you miss it, you miss it. Like you said, you can just pick shows and watch them whenever, but at the same time, there's just so many. We're getting like overwhelmed with like so much content.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why, like,
prices for everything is going up. Like, I got a notification for my Hulu. It's going up like $1.99. So is my Apple Music. And I'm like, oh my God.
I'm still in shock, though. Not relevant to our topic whatsoever. But, like, Netflix for 2 people is $15? What? That is so crazy to me. Like, for 2 accounts. So crazy.
It's getting bad out here.
It was at that price for like their highest resolution like package. Their new package is like $21. Like, what?
I never knew how Netflix did it as far as their different pricing ranges, because I know with Hulu they're different because it's like, oh, you can be a bundle with like Disney Plus and ESPN, or like you can pay this price, but you have to watch ads, or this price without the ads. So that understood, but not with like Netflix, or I don't know what other streaming sites don't use ads.
They did it by person.
Okay.
So I think the cheapest one that Netflix has is like 1 person, and it's like the worst video quality, or like standard as they call it.
Not you saying the worst video quality.
It is. It's grainy. It's ugly. It's not worth it.
Back in the day, that used to be the best video quality.
I know. That's so crazy. And then their middle one, their second tier one, is 2 people, and then you get HD. And then their most expensive one is like about up to 4 people, and then you can have like HD and like Ultra HD or something like that.
Or like 4K?
Yeah,
is that added into it?
Think
this new 4K thing now?
So that's how they're rolling. And I'm like, that's crazy.
That's interesting. Let's get back to Yumi Cells, though, because we got way off topic. It's still relevant in like the TV world aspect, but
But the director for Yumi Cell, though, he also did he did A Piece of Your Mind. Have you seen that one?
No.
And Familiar Wife?
No.
No? I was actually surprised because I really enjoyed Familiar Wife, so like it makes sense. Similar like way of direction. And the writer too, have you heard of W, The Two Worlds? That's kind of like part cartoonish, part reality.
No, but you've piqued my interest.
Yeah.
That's a show?
It's a show. It's about a webtoon artist. Like the main lead's dad, I believe, is a webtoon artist. And somehow she like ends up jumping into the story. And like it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Ooh, you might have to send me the link for that. That actually does sound
It's
interesting.
on Wiki. W, The Two Worlds. So that one's pretty interesting. And then
Wiki or Vicky?
Vicky. What did I say? Wiki.
Okay, you said Wiki.
Vicky. Sorry.
I was like, what? It's fine. Too many W's.
Yeah. The writer also wrote Find Me in Your Memory. Have not seen that one yet, but I heard good things about that one too. What else? So it's 14 episodes, which I thought was an interesting number because it's typically 12 or 16. So they picked like right in the middle. And it's about an hour long.
Oh, you're right. It usually is 12 or 16.
So I thought that was interesting. I'm like, okay, they have just enough to say then. So it's not going to be like super dragged out, which I appreciate. So there are 5 main characters.
Before you go on there, hang on, just so I can bring up, I don't know if we mentioned this. I mean, I did earlier, but Yumi Cells is based off of a webtoon by the same name,
right?
Yumi Cells. And the author of that, his name is Dongun, if I pronounced that correctly. And then with the webtoon, it started in 2015 and it ended in 2020. I think around like May of 2020, April or May. But the webtoon itself was around for 5 years. That's kind of interesting. They kind of did the turnaround pretty quick because the webtoon ended in 2020 and season 1 started in 2021.
So they probably already had that in like pre-planning or something.
Yeah, pre-production. I don't think people realize pre-production takes forever. Like a very long time before the actual production. That's the longest part of like shows or movies is the pre-production because you have to get through everything, make sure you get greenlit, any type of rewrites that need to happen, finding the people, locations. I can keep going.
Yeah.
But just so y'all know, before you even hear about something being made, just know the pre-production took at least maybe a year or 2 before they even announced it was going to start production.
Wow.
Or that it was in the works.
That's crazy. Well, that makes sense too, because you don't want to start something if you can't continue it, you know?
Remember when we talked about Turning Red? I don't remember the date, but I think they said they had that movie pre-production since 2018.
Yeah, it was quite a while, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Or 2017. So just to give you guys an idea, even though that was a cartoon, but it's still the same even for like live action films. All
right, so let me go over the 5 main people. So our main female lead, Kim Go-eun, she is playing Kim Yumi, the main actor. She was in Goblin. If y'all have not seen Goblin, please watch Goblin. It's so good.
I mean, you just talked about it for a good 2 minutes. So
she was also in She's in the Trap, which is actually pretty good too. And she was also in The King, Eternal Monarch with Lee Min-ho. Have you seen that one?
Didn't that not do well? That was
controversial,
Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix and it was kind of controversial too.
Okay, I didn't watch it, but I remember hearing about a lot of mixed reviews on that show. So
yeah,
especially the ending.
I watched it and I was so confused. But I watched it. I'll just leave it at that. I just watched it.
I can't put my 2 put in because I didn't watch it, so.
Their acting was good. The acting was fine, but it was just the storyline was like kind of all over the place. And it got confusing between the 2 different worlds, but I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, she starred in a lot of amazing things, which was why I was like kind of confident that I wouldn't be as turned off by this show. So yeah, and then we have An Bo-hyun, he plays the main lead in this season. He was also in Itaewon Class. He was the
How did I not recognize him in What did he play at Itaewon class?
He was the villain boy. He was the reason why our main lead could not graduate.
Oh shit! Was he? It's been so long since I watched Itaewon class. I forgot.
No, but to be fair though, in Itaewon class he had like blonde hair. And
blonde hair, yes.
I don't want to say he looked ugly, but he looked like a jerk, okay? He actually looked like a jerk.
He does not look the same.
But here he looks like sober and like friendly.
I need to rewatch that because I don't remember if I will like it as much as I did the first time. That was also heavy during beginning of quarantine times when I was watching that. So
Itaewon class, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that had like just finished right before what's it called? Pandemic, if I'm not mistaken.
What's it called? The thing that has ruined our life for almost 3 years, Nafis.
But yeah, the thing is though, like I recognized his face, but I couldn't place where I got his face from. And I just remember really hating, like I just did not like him for a reason. I'm like, I remember you from a show. But then like I researched it, I'm like, oh, it's a one class. Yeah. I hated his character there.
Yeah, he looks so different. Okay. But
I'm like genuinely surprised by how well he's been doing, like in the acting world. Like he's doing like really different roles. So impressed by him.
Is there anything else notable that he's in besides those two, or are those just the two you wrote down?
He's in Kairos, but I haven't seen Kairos, so I can't comment on what that show's about. Or like, yeah.
Okay.
Lee Yubi, which is she was also in A Poem a Day and Pinocchio. I've seen Pinocchio, but I don't remember what she was or which character she played. But in this show, she is known as Ruby, the infamous Ruby.
Oh, that's interesting. Her real name is kind of close to Ruby.
Yeah, that's probably why they kept it too.
I thought you said Ruby, but you didn't. You said Yubi.
Yeah. And then we have
E-U-B, Ruby.
And then we have Park Ji-hyun. She was in Do You Like Brahms? I haven't seen that one, but that is also the same show that the main lead, the female main lead in Extraordinary Attorney, she was the main lead in that one as well. So she's playing
the new show?
Yeah.
Why don't I be recognizing these people? But you know what's funny, though? That took me not until season 2 to realize the guy who plays Lewis, Jong-hyuk, is also an attorney extraordinary Woo, and I hate his character in Attorney Extraordinary. He is the rookie attorney on her team. The guy.
Oh, okay.
Attorney Kwong, that's him. Huh. And it took me watching Yumi Cells 2 to realize that was him.
That's crazy.
Well, because, I watched Yumi Cells before I started watching
Extraordinary Attorney, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a while since I watched season 1, so...
That's so weird, how, like, they just show up in different personas.
I hate his character in Extraordinary.
I haven't seen it yet, so don't ruin it for me.
I won't, but we definitely need to talk about it, so... But that's crazy, she was also in that.
But yeah, Park Ji-hyun...
Oh, and we forgot to mention... I don't know if you said it, but she plays,
So Sei. Yeah.
Which, when I was reading the webtoon, I didn't realize they gave her a different name. Her name in the webtoon is Sia, or like, I guess Korean pronounce it like Shia. But they changed her name. I don't know why. Just thought I'd point that out because I didn't write it down, but I remembered it.
And then we have, last but not least, Park Jin-young. He was in When My Love Blooms, The Devil Judge. I've seen The Devil Judge. It's pretty good. So if y'all have not seen it, definitely watch it.
I actually have not seen that. Where is that on? Is that on Netflix?
Wait, no, that one's not on Netflix. That one's on Viki.
No.
That one's on Viki, yeah.
Okay.
And then he was in something else too. He is psychometric, something like that. Yeah.
Dramatic. I can never say that word. Also, because Nafis is mostly talking about actors, if you don't recognize Park Jin-young, and if you're into K-pop, he's in a famous, notorious group called GOT7. Can't believe you forgot that. And you're also missing another character. I know he's not in it that much, but he's also very important in the first season. Minho.
Minho, yeah. He's the catalyst of this all.
Che Minho.
He's the catalyst. But yeah, so we have Minho, and he is the crush of Yumi in the beginning part of season 1. So yeah, he also plays a very important role.
This character's name is Woogie. And also, if you recognize his face, besides a bunch of other stuff he's acted in. He's also in a very famous K-pop group, second gen, named SHINee.
So 2 idols in this show. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, so those are the main characters that we'll see. But essentially, the show is about the complex nature that humans go through on a day-to-day basis and the network that the cells kind of create to help make those decisions as to how they should respond to like reality. So like what kind of expression to make, what to say, things like that. Okay. This was actually the genre is romantic, life, and comedy, which I see because it's very lighthearted.
Yeah.
Very, very lighthearted. So it's pretty good.
Especially slice of life type shows.
Alrighty. So what were your initial thoughts of the show? Because I know you said you liked it from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, I think I already expressed it at the beginning before we started, how I was a big advocate of the webtoon. So I already, I guess, had my initial bias through there of like expectations. So thankfully they weren't failed. And I think all the characters did a really good job of bringing them to life. I mentioned this to Nafis before we started recording, but like, I do feel like I can tell where they changed their characters a little bit, because I feel like Yumi wasn't as, like in the webtoon, she, especially at the very beginning before she even starts dating Wung, she comes more off as like guarded, I would say. Like people actually think she's mean, which I didn't really get that from the initial like show when I'm watching it. But that's what's put on her on the webtoon. Ruby especially at the very beginning a little bit more like has that mean girl vibe, which in the show I feel like, I don't know how to explain these type of people. It's like mean girl vibe, but she hides it really well with her cuteness. I don't know what that'd be categorized, but like I feel like she's a little bit more.
It's categorized as scary. Those type of people are scary.
Scary? Okay. Well, she's a little bit more mean in the webtoon. Like I feel like she's more catty, which in the show she's more like cutesy.
A little too cutesy.
Annoyingly cutesy. Yes. Like, girl, be quiet, cutesy.
You know what really irritated me, though? And then I guess it kind of grew on me, which is funny because it also irritated the characters in the story, is how she refers to herself as, like,
the
third person. It's so funny because every time, like, I would have the thought, like, why is she talking to herself in third person? Like, whoever she's talking to has that same exact thought. And I'm like, all right, our cells are matching now.
And I know, I'm sure they're also thinking about that because of her age. I'm sure she's like in her 20s, I don't know, early 20s or late 20s, but it's also looking at her like, girl, you're too old to still be like talking like this. So
yeah, I got the vibe she's like early 20s, but still, when you're in your 20s, that's not cute.
And you also know she's doing this on purpose. So it's like, you don't have to be doing this. That's the thing.
That's true. But I like her character development, though, over the course of the seasons.
She definitely grows, which I appreciate, especially when we start talking about season 2. So I like her a lot more, especially,
I agree.
I just like her a lot more than earlier. So
I initially did not like the show. I didn't want to watch it. But this is such a superficial reason, but I don't like Yumi's haircut. Like, I just don't like it.
I thought it was cute.
I mean, it grew to be cute, but when I first saw it, I'm like, what is that haircut? And I'm like, this does not look like it's going to be good.
Wow.
So, like, yeah.
So you were judging a whole show off the main character's haircut?
Because, like, her haircut was not good, and I just felt like her character would be annoying. Because I get really annoyed when characters make annoying decisions. And for this most part, she's been okay, but she did some really annoying things. So, like...
yeah, she made some not so smart decisions.
So, yeah.
I mean, they were trying to match it with her haircut in the webcomic.
Is that how it is in the webcomic?
It's a lot shorter in the webcomic, but I feel like it would have looked worse if they made it shorter. So they cut it at a good length. It's a lot shorter in the webtoon. And also blonde, which I'm surprised they didn't make her blonde, but I'm actually appreciative that they didn't make her blonde.
Yeah.
So
that would be weird. Well, not that I know about any like hair color and fashion and all that, but still. It would have been weird.
I feel like the black hair matches because she's pretty. I mean, this goes into my whole thing with like, I won't get too much into it, like how they see like skin color over there. But as far as what I could see from the TV, she seems pretty pale. So I feel like the blonde wouldn't have matched her skin tone the best.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the black hair, as far as her skin tone, matched better. But they use a bunch of filters over there, so I don't know if she's a lot darker than that. But again, we're not going to get into that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was my initial reasoning. It was such a superficial reasoning, I know, but like, yeah,
it's fine. Everyone has their thing, so.
But I'm glad I watched it though.
Now, did you like Wung's haircut though? Because his hair is pretty long.
I thought his was like too bohemian, but like I liked it. I felt like it suited him, like his character.
That's funny you say that word bohemian, because isn't that what her fashion cell calls him as well?
Really?
I think so. Because you don't hear the word bohemian a lot. I think
you don't.
To offset like his look, when the first impression, her fashion cell's like, he's going for the bohemian style, and I'm like, what is that? Am I too young to know what that means?
Bohemian, that's like when I think bohemian, I think like Hawaiian style, like laid back surfer type dude.
Okay, I've never heard that before. Not in comparison with like Pacific Islanders hairstyles.
That's what I think, but I'm not sure if that's correct.
Okay.
But yeah.
Anyway.
I think West Coast surfer dude when someone says bohemian.
Okay, sure. Let's go with that. Anyway, moving on.
But yeah, those were my initial thoughts. But I will say the show does grow on me though as we go through it.
Okay. I'm glad you were able to get past their appearance to actually watch the show.
The appearance and like personalities too.
I mean, yes, but we'll get into that a little bit later, so.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to go over episodes 1 and 2 real quick. Just so we have like a set discussion about that. But anyway, so episode 1 starts off with introducing our main characters. I love the way they set it up because it goes back and forth between like what the cells are doing and like how they help her respond to like situations in real life. Like, for example, if she needed to like smile, they'd be like, smile, smile, like the smile cell or like the love cell or the sensitivity cell would like kick in. So I really like that you get to see like that type of contrast. But essentially, it starts off with a dream sequence where she's in bed with her crush, Minho, who is also known as Uki in the show. But however, after a little bit, she wakes up back into reality, finds him not there. She has to go to work, and then it progresses from that. But we really do understand where she's coming from the get-go. So she's 32, single, hasn't dated in the past 3 years. Because of that, she was able to focus on her work and get a promotion. So she really wasn't looking for anything. In the show, it kind of shows it as like her love cell has been hidden away or in a coma, I think, right?
Yes. I don't remember if they mentioned at the beginning, because do we know why she has been single for the past 3 years?
I think she hasn't seen any because of her ex-boyfriend breaks up with her like randomly.
Well, not randomly.
For her happiness, quote unquote.
Yeah, not randomly. I won't say why until a little bit later, since we're only doing the first 2, but it was just she was in a really long relationship, and then her ex-boyfriend all of a sudden, which we'll see why later in the season, broke up with her. So that really affected her. Who,
by the way, she assumed she was happily involved with. But yeah. Anywho, so like, yeah, you constantly see her cells like always battling it out, like what her next move should be. So I thought that was pretty cute to watch. We also meet Ruby, her coworker, and someone that Yumi dislikes just because of the way Ruby is. Like you said, she comes off as like cutesy, but like you can tell there's like an ulterior motive behind the cutesiness. She also keeps having encounters with Uki, her crush, and so her and her cells, like they continue to make up this like storyline of like why he continuously meets with her, like at her desk, at the coffee shop, things like that. So like they think that he's trying to flirt with her, but we find out later that is not the case. So yeah. But what's even more hilarious though is that Ruby is also always there whenever he's there. So that just kind of adds on to her irritation of Ruby.
Ruby also has a crush on him, basically.
Yeah. So it's like funny because it's like always a Yumi versus Ruby battle. And this is really highlighted when they make plans to go see the flower festival in the park. And so it was originally just supposed to be Uki and Yumi, but Yumi, like, she refuses because for whatever reason. But then Ruby's like, yeah, let's all go. And then that triggers like this whole like silent confrontation. I don't know if that's how you would want to refer to it, but essentially,
I don't know if Yumi refuses at first. I think they're talking about it. I don't remember how it got brought up, but I think Ruby inserted herself before Yumi could even give an answer. Either that or I think Ruby and brought it up and didn't want to. I
thought it was Uki that brought it up.
I could have sworn it was Ruby that brought it up to try to get Woogie alone, and then he invited Yumi.
Right, yes.
And then that's when when Ruby was like, oh, so we're going to play this game, are we? So let me invite another coworker.
And then he drops it last minute.
Yeah.
But no, she was pretty smart about it because Ruby had like plans with her friends, not the day they were meant to go, but the day before. And so she like made it so instead of on a Sunday, they planned for a Saturday, which also caused Ruby to not show up. But however, the next day she does show up. And so that becomes like this whole funny saga of like trying to catch up with Yumi and Uki. But yeah, so they meet up at the park. Ruby shows up, does not answer. Yumi does not answer her phone call. However, Ruby does run into her, or she spots her. And then that becomes like this whole like Tom and Jerry like chase where she's like jumping over trash cans, racing with the other runners. And so, yeah, it's
before
like this...
that, I like how her cells kind of like appeared on the bus telling her to run when she spots Yumi across, or when she spots Ruby. God, I get their names mixed up. I keep calling Ruby Yumi, but when Yumi sees Ruby across the street, and their cells are screaming at her to run so she doesn't see her, even though I think she does end up seeing her.
She does, running. Which is, yeah.
And then there's that part where like that older guy, the jogger, and then Yumi's running next to him and he's trying to run past her. That part was funny.
Yeah, so it became like this whole like marathon of a run, really. But eventually Yumi kind of like outruns her and loses her, and so she just calls Wookie to meet her at a coffee shop.
Yes, and before we move on for that, because I wrote down some like differences between the webtoon and the show. So sorry to burst your bubble, guys, but in the webtoon itself, the whole chase scene doesn't happen. Yeah. So like Woogie and Yumi actually end up going to the festival and like enjoying the whole day together. And then it's like towards the end, well, I won't say it until Nafis finishes, is when they're like sitting at the fountain and they're like eating ice cream. And they have this whole discussion that we're going to talk about in a minute. And then Ruby shows up like towards the whole end. So I don't think she even hears what Woogie's about to ask Yumi. But yeah. Basically, everything already happened before she actually shows up.
And so, where were we? Yeah, so they meet at the coffee shop. And so they're just sitting there and he asks her if she's single and like other probing questions. So she answers, yeah, I'm single. And then like he continues asking her. And so this kind of like brings Yumi into like cautious mode where she's like, why is he asking me all these questions? Because it's more of like an interrogation versus like him being curious. And so he mentions that
she was excited. Was she really cautious? Because even before the whole date, they were like,
I felt she was cautious, though.
I don't think so. I think she was answering to make sure like she was his type. Because I don't think she knew where the questions were going.
Right.
But like, you know, even before she was so excited, they had like the little cheery things for Yumi. And they thought these questions were good because, like, I think she was trying to answer in a way that she thought would be gearing toward what he wants to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so after like asking her like the questions, he was like, I think you would be a great person to date. And I would like to set you up on a blind date with my friend.
When he said the word blind date, that's when her whole face changed.
Yeah. And she was like, she literally blurted out like that very second he stopped his sentence, if I'm so great, why don't you date me? Awkward silence follows. And then he's just like, I like someone else who's not a woman. And then like,
well, before we get into that, he's like, he actually tells her, because at the beginning there's all these initiations. It kind of clicks in her, like all the times he was asking her, like, hey, when are you getting off work? Because I'm going to Ilsan.
Yeah.
And you live there. Why don't we go together? Or like asking her availability. He was trying to set her up this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And she just thought like he was trying to plan for them together.
Yeah.
But he really just wanted to meet with his friend because he thought they would go together initially. So he tells her that also before she starts questioning, like, if I'm so great to date, why don't you date me?
Yeah.
Like that was his plan all along, was to set them up. And then like, because there's a part where before she meets him at the festival, he calls her on a different phone number and she got really giddy because she's like, if you don't have your cell phone because you lost it at home, how did you remember my number? And he's like, oh, I just remember your phone number. And then she realized when he's putting Wung's number in her phone that he's just really good with numbers. So that's another indication. He's like, oh, like it wasn't because you like me. You're just
good with numbers.
This is how you are. You just remember numbers. You're just really nice. But it's not because you have a crush on me.
Yeah. And so that makes her very sad. And I really liked how they showed the cells in this part too. Like they showed her crying, but like internally it was like this whole flood where the cells were like all getting like, they were drowning essentially in the flood. So I really liked how they interconnected both with that. But yeah, so because of that, she ends up meeting up with his friend. So they meet the next day, and that's like the first day.
Oh, wait, hang on. I forgot to mention this because I talked about the Clarence, because you brought up briefly how he's like, he's not into women.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's very important in this show, especially the climate that we're in, especially like Korean society climate. Because like, I know it's bad over there. It's bad over here too, but I feel like people are able to express themselves more, like if they are gay or not. It still has that like stigma, but it's more talked about here than it is over there.
Yeah.
So even when he said that and he's like, that's a secret, I feel like that was really brave of him. And like, it kind of shows like he not interested in like a romantic way, but like he really trusts Yumi, because I feel like that's not an easy thing
to say,
not only to bring up to someone if they're a stranger, but just like to say it all. Cause like, we talk about this with like foreigners, but I don't know if I ever mentioned it on the show, but Korea doesn't have any discrimination laws there. So that also applies to Korean people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure stuff like that is a lot worse. Like they can just fire you or like ruin your life if they realize, you're gay or like disabled, things along that nature. I think it's getting a little better, but still, that was just really brave of him, and it shows how much he trusts Yumi.
Yeah, no, that's a good point you brought up.
And I know she's sad. I think she was mostly sad that he didn't like her back, not because he was gay.
Yeah.
So.
No, but you could tell though, like when he was telling her that, like his expression was like very guarded and like, oh, how is she going to receive that? But I'm glad she responded the way she responded, because it made him a little bit more comfortable too. Like it just like strengthened that trust.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Because I didn't write it down, but like, because Yumi has like other friends we don't really see in the show. Because like in the next scene after that, she is at her house with a friend and she's basically telling her friend what happened. And her friend asks her, she's like, well, why doesn't he like you back? And then it comes back to like the memory of him telling her that he is gay, and she doesn't say it, which also just shows what type of person Yumi is, which is good. Like she doesn't reveal a secret like that, because sadly in a place like Korea, that's still a pretty big secret, the LGBT community. So I hope it gets better, but like with everything, things take time.
Right. But
a long time.
Yeah. Always a work in progress.
Yeah, work in progress. So I just thought we should bring that up because, like, especially in the media, because, like, I feel like they're starting to bring to light more that people like that
Right.
exist in a lot of K-dramas that I've been watching recently.
That is true, actually. I'm noticing it more.
It's good that they're starting to be more open into, because you always feel like, especially anywhere in the world, like the media plays a big part in like the way society
100%.
moves. So
Yes.
if we can show this more in these type of, media, it can get people talking more.
But more importantly, they show them as serious characters instead of like comic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
I'm happy
it's progress.
He's not the stereotypical like flamboyant that they try to push, because not everyone is like that.
Yeah.
And even if they are, they make like caricatures out of them.
Exactly. So that's what I really like seeing, is that progress or that development in character. But yes, where were we? Okay, so yeah, she ends up meeting our male lead for the first time. And so essentially they're meeting in a public place and they're looking for each other. So I believe he's the one that texts her first, right?
I think he does.
So he texts her saying that he's waiting there. And so she texts back saying that, okay, I have a red purse, right? It's red. I keep mixing up red purse and scarf for some reason, but it's a red purse.
Why are you thinking of scarf? What show are you thinking of for a scarf?
Because she has a red scarf and Goblin. That's why.
Oh, okay. I'm like, no, it's a red bag.
Yes, but yeah, like I guess it's just her in red. But yeah.
I guess.
So yeah, so she has like a red bag and he's looking for that, and they are actually just in front of each other, so they meet.
I like that scene too, because like he puts on his headphones while he's waiting for her at the fountain, and then like when she approaches, like the music that he's playing, it like sets the tone of like how he first sees her, which is like starstruck, or like, wow, she's gorgeous, like prettier than I imagined.
Yeah. So
of course in the webtoon it's not all that, glamorous. I mean, same at the it just doesn't have that music movie magic. So in the webtoon, same thing. He contacts her first, but instead of texting, he calls, when people used to call each other. And the difference is, she says, I guess, because like we mentioned earlier, she's blonde in the comic. So he's supposed to be looking out for a blonde bob and a white shirt. And yeah, he sees her, but her back is to him. So he is actually the one who goes up to her first, like, oh, are you Yumi? And in the show, she goes up to him like, oh, are you Wung? Because he's the only one by himself. So
okay. But that's an interesting difference, yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you have anything written about their appearance or not. Like their first impressions.
So well, obviously he was starstruck, so he was just like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty.
Yes. He was already in love. Like that was the love at first sight type.
And
I don't usually believe in that stuff, but the way he was looking at her,
but that first interaction was kind of chaotic and funny though. But for her, like you could tell that he's laid back, easygoing. And like I said earlier, like I saw bohemian style attire. So, but for her though, what did her cells say?
So she wasn't really.
She didn't say anything. Yeah.
Impressed. Okay. They were kind of like, why is he wearing this on a first date?
Yeah, she had expectations.
He's wearing flip-flops. And the webcomic is so funny because her like etiquette or like her manner cells point that out. And like I wrote it down. She's like, he doesn't even have the decency to wear socks on a blind date. But yeah, and then like the beard, she wasn't really feeling at first, which was funny though, because Naughty Cell wasn't shown in the show, but in the webcomic, even though like he was dressed like this, he does say like, I don't know, the cells don't really have genders, but Naughty Cell actually does call him sexy, even though his appearance was like not what she was expecting.
Okay.
But she doesn't say that in the show. So like it was kind of grossed out, but like he's still still cute. So it was a 50-50.
Gotcha. Because I know later on,
compared to the show, Sensitivity Cell just wanted to go home.
They're like, okay, let's just end this nicely and keep it moving.
Let's try our best. Let's be kind, polite, and then let's get up the hell out of here.
Which is kind of funny though, because like you can tell like Yumi is introverted. So I think naturally most introverted people, if they're not in a situation they expect to be in, like that is how they would go about thinking it. Like, for example, if I was in that situation, that is exactly what I would say. I'm like, okay, let's end this on a good note and just keep it moving. So I thought that part was pretty relatable.
Yeah. I definitely would have like not shut down, but just be like, I definitely would have been more quiet than she was. And judging him by his appearance, I'm sorry. I kind of agree with Yumi and her manner cells. Like, you're on a date. You could dress up a little bit. I know he's an attractive person, but like, this is your first impression. You could put a little effort. At least wear pants, not shorts.
Shorts.
It's one thing depending where their date was. You gotta wear for the appropriate date. Like if they're going to like the beach or like the park, maybe. But they're just going out to like eat in restaurants. So like he could have dressed up a little bit more. I'm just saying. As a casual person as I am.
No, it makes sense though why she understood that though, because like typically the way you dress kind of gives you that initial feel of how that person, how seriously that person is taking you.
Right. And I'm pretty laid back person myself. So I feel like, second date, maybe not first date.
But like after that starstruck moment is when I really loved his character. He just opens his mouth and like, he just starts off with a dad joke. I'm like, okay, this is a great one right here.
Yeah, when he started speaking, because at first, like, what did they call it? The fog came and, like, he couldn't speak. So his mind went blank. And then when they went to the coffee shop, he got hit in the face with the door.
Yeah. But her reaction, though, to the dad joke was just like, what? What? How do I respond to this? So it was interesting.
What was the first dad joke that he said? Do you remember?
It was something about...
Was it the clock one or did he say something else?
I thought it was the time one. I think so.
Was it the time one?
But it was just interesting because like that is, you can tell is not her type of humor. So it was just like, okay, haha, keep face type thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I should say the joke or not because like again, I haven't practiced my Korean in a while, so I don't know if I'll say it properly.
Do you have the English translation of it?
I don't think it'll make as much sense in English.
Yeah, you're right. But essentially, it's just a pun about time.
Yeah, she's asking what time it is. When is it?
I don't remember the joke, but I just thought it was funny.
I'm not gonna do it.
But yeah.
And he says Solshi, which sounds like something else, I think.
Oh, it's Seoul time.
It's the city of Seoul, and I don't remember what else is supposed to sound like.
I actually didn't understand the joke, but I just understood it was supposed to be a dad joke, which made it funny. So
if you watch it on Viki, they say the joke in parentheses translated. I just don't remember what it's supposed to sound like.
I do not remember either.
Well, the English translation in the webcomic, the joke that he asks is, why couldn't the bike stand on its own?
That's what that was? That is not the vibe I got.
Well, I'm asking you. That's what it is, but the feast, why couldn't the bike stand on its own?
I don't know.
Because it was too tired. Are you okay? I don't understand why you find this funny. You're dying over there.
It's funny. I'm going to use that now.
Oh, God, please don't.
I love dad jokes. They are so hilarious. It's probably an age thing. I don't know.
It might be.
Oh, which, by the way, they're both in their 30s from the vibe I got, so.
They're the same age.
Age?
It said that they're the same age. Yes. Also, if you notice, like, if you know anything about Korean culture, that's why they don't use honorifics with each other. Like, if you notice, she doesn't call him Oppa or he doesn't call her like Nuna or anything because they're the same age. No one's older than the other. So they just refer to them as their name.
Is Babi the same age too?
I'm assuming so because they also don't do that.
Okay. And so, yeah, that is their first interaction. And then pretty much from there, it just shows like the highs and lows of their relationship throughout the season and their eventual conclusion. Yeah, but there are a few points that I wanted to talk about, like that happened within the storyline. But before that, how relatable did you think the characters were?
To me, or
to
just
you
in general? To me, nothing, because I'm not like this.
At all?
Not really. Again, that's someone who's coming from a non-relationship point of view. So I don't know if I'd be able to relate more if I had more experience in relationships.
Possibly.
I could see it as far like comparing it to my friends who are in relationship, whether currently or like in the past, and like how I was around them when they were telling me their stories. I can see it, but like me personally, no. So what about you?
Interesting. I thought, for the most part, I thought Yumi was pretty relatable, but not from the relationship aspect, more so like her thought process about things. Like, for example, when things get awkward, the way she would react, that's kind of how I would react to things, like just deadpan.
Okay, if I'm comparing myself to a character, honestly, I feel like I'm more like Wung.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Especially certain stuff he reacts to, like if he's put in certain situations, how he like freezes, or like depending what it is, giving the short answer. Even though I'm trying to improve that myself by being more honest, but
me too, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Personality wise, I think I'm more like him. Except for the dad jokes. That's all you. But
no, like I'm so glad you brought that up, because like in the show, he has like these whole option thing, like A, B, C, D, and he like rationalizes everything. And then he just comes out with like 3 words.
Yeah.
Or like 1-word answers. It's like, why?
I wonder if he's an earth sign. Is that an earth sign trait?
I don't know. Could be.
Well, you're not an earth sign either. You must have some in your placement. I don't know. Anyway.
But yeah, so like that's a good point you brought up. But like as far as like the introvertness, I relate to her in that aspect.
Yeah. Because honestly, it's weird. He's like honest with certain stuff, but not everything. Again, it depends on the situation. So
I feel like he's honest with her when it comes to her, but when it comes to his own personal matters, he's not. Yeah.
Yes, and I can relate to that a lot. Yeah. So,
and you see that affect the relationship in so many instances too.
Yes. So if we're going to go with that route, I think I'm more related to him. The least person I'm related to is Ruby.
Your least? Oh, me. You will never catch me acting like Ruby.
Like related, like be able to personality wise relate to is Ruby. And Yumi's kind of like in the middle. She's got to get rid of that sensitivity cell, though. I think that's why. I relate to Yumi's rational cell.
Yeah.
A little bit of her love cell. The sensitivity needs to be locked away with her inner feelings.
Her sensitivity cell is just all over the place.
And I think that's where mine is. Mine is probably locked away somewhere with my inner feelings. So that's why.
But yeah, like in that sense, Ruby is the least likely character I would relate to. You will never catch me acting like her. The day you do, you need to ask me if I'm high, if I'm doing okay. Like I'm so serious.
I need to ask you if you're taking anything special, if everything's going, everything's okay
Brownies,
in your
edibles,
life.
Whatever it is. Like, that's not normal behavior.
Oh my God. But there are some, especially women like that. I was just never like that as a person.
No, they are, and there's no problem with it. But like, it just doesn't suit me, you know?
Yeah. And that could also be like how you grew up, because she's probably like that because, you know, she's a very pretty girl. So that could have gotten her like a lot of favoritism, you know, open more doors, especially if she hypes it up more. So I understand why she acts like that.
But I don't know, like, if you remember, but it kind of touches on why she's like that. It's because it has always worked for her. Like when she does like those little subtle like physical contact things, like touching the shoulder or whatever, tilting the head, like it's always worked for her. So, but
yeah, but there's times where like especially she'll learn with like Woogie, it doesn't always, so she needs to reevaluate, and especially as she gets older, that's not going to fly anymore in the real world. In certain situations.
It's always funny though, because like whenever she talks about herself or she's talking to someone and they're like just meeting her for the first time and she refers to herself in the third person, every character is like, why is she referring to herself in the third person? So I thought that was funny because I would have that same thought as well.
Yeah, that's how Wung and Yumi kind of started, relating when they were at the Frog Festival, and he brought that up. He's like, what does he say? My nephew stopped acting like that when he was 5. Like, why is she still acting like this?
So that was pretty interesting. So my next point is, or my next question is, can females and males be friends? So, at some point in the story, Yumi starts to notice that his friend, Sei, the one he works with, is like giving him a lot of attention, more so whenever Yumi's around. And so they have like this conflict between them, which they both kind of like confront. And so before she confronted her that she asked him the question?
Yes, this was before. So I know a little bit when they were still kind of getting used to each other. She hasn't met his friends yet, and he brought up his friends, and then her initial shock when they're in the coffee shop when he tells her that Sei is not a man, she's a woman. And that's kind of starts Yumi spiraling when she finds out that he is friends with the girl. And her cautious is up because I'm not sure she's ever dated anyone that had female friends before, which is weird and wild to me. I don't know if that's a culture thing or not. But anyway, that kind of sets in the back of her mind her cautious for her. And then it progresses like when she first meets her in the bathroom and the way Sei's kind of like talking to her. And like when she brings up Wung, how like she's acting like she knows so much things about him because she's known him since college. I mean, even the way she talks to Yumi is kind of like pretentious and it's like
condescending in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just met you. It's nice, but like you could feel that venom behind the niceness. So, especially during her birthday. I see the tea thing, that's when it first happened, when she's at Wung's place and he offers her some type of tea thing and she realized that Sei made it. I don't remember if that was before she met Sei or after. I think that was before. That was before because she looked up Sei's like social media to see what she looked like and realized that she's pretty. Yes. So it was finding out she was a woman first, and then that whole tea thing and the way Wung kind of responded because she already realized that she made it for him. But when she asked him, he kind of brushed it off. And that was another kind of like red flag.
And he said it was a friend. Yeah.
Yeah, which kind of would have bothered me too. I'm like, if it's not that important, why don't you just say Sei made this for me? Why are you like hiding who made it?
But like, I guess in his mind, it was like, oh, I don't want to cause problems, you know? But that ends up causing more problems.
Right. It ends up causing more problems. You should have just said it so you could have gotten that problem out the way. You could have just been like, oh, my friend Sei, who I work with, made it, but it's not that big of a deal. She just made it for me because I was sick. And that would have made more suspicion on Sei than Wung and Sei. You know what I'm saying?
I will say, though, as annoying as Yumi's character is at times, she's actually pretty reasonable when it comes to things. Like, if he just out and said it, if she just out and said it, she wouldn't have been, like you said, as disturbed by it.
Yes. And then the second incident happens with her birthday and the necklace that he gets her. And then when they stop by his work because there's a problem with the gaming, that's when she first meets Sei in the bathroom that I was talking about and how she's being a little like nice but rude at the same time. And when they go back into the little office space where Sei's like hovering all over him and saying like, oh, Wung like so-and-so and this. And then she mentions that he was with her when he picked
shopping for the necklace.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't know why I just blanked right there. I didn't blank. I was trying to figure out how to word it. So, and that kind of also made Yumi upset to where when they were still working, she just ends up leaving. That was the real first like kind of fight they had. And she didn't say anything. I wonder how long it took her to leave. She just sent a text like, I just went home. You guys seem busy. That's not the real case though. But it's not until he calls her when she's in the taxi.
But like, what could she have said though without causing a scene?
That's true. I think that's why she said it when he called her.
Because either way, like it would just seem like if she were to say something, They would have just gaslighted her, I think, in a way.
Say definitely would have.
It was better for her to just go.
Yeah. But then I didn't like the conversation they try to have when he showed up at her door. I don't even know if he even apologized. Did he even apologize?
I think so.
Did he? Okay. Well, she brings it up again. And, you know, we were talking about how he wrote up this whole thing of like what to say. And I hate his rational self for saying it. He's like, you know what? That's too long. Let's just shorten it. And I'm like, no, say it.
All of it. Say all of it.
They would have avoided so many misunderstandings if he just initially said all he was thinking. Like, I just went with her because I didn't know or didn't have like that expertise in that area. He needed a female touch. He just said like he just needed a female touch or something like that. Just short and simple, where it's kind of like it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense.
He could have shortened it by saying that he needed expertise. He didn't need to mention the other part if he was going to shorten it.
Right. So
kind of funny though,
I guess.
But yeah, so I don't know. Like with her though, Sei is an interesting character because it's obvious that, because they say this in the drama too. It's like keep them close enough, but not like too close, where like you don't have to date them, but they're close enough to still be there.
From his point of view or her point of view?
Her point of view. Because like I don't know if it was like from her cells that said it, but like they made it seem like she does not want to date him, but she will not let anybody else date him type thing. Yes,
because there's a point where like we see her little bulletin board where she has a posted note that says like she doesn't want to get married, and then that flies away, and it's like, but if I do end up getting married, it would be to Wung. I'm like, okay, so do you want to be with him or not?
That part like really irritated me because like she's just confused. Like figure it out.
And like the thing is, like that also makes me upset with Wung. Like he knows the whole time.
Yeah.
So one thing about him, like he's not dumb, and he'll show you instances where he knows what's going on. Like that one incident where him and Sei are at a restaurant and she tries to bring up like the past, and that's her way of like flirting or saying like, you know, all these good times we've had, we might as well just be together. And he turns into that whole bear when she's talking.
I think it was also when she tries to sit next to him too. I think it was the same one. And he just switches seats.
Yes, and he moves.
But he's also made it pretty clear though that he's not interested.
Yeah, their whole relationship is like weird, but like it also gets tricky because like you say they work together and they're doing a startup company, so like they don't really have any money. They're not doing a normal 9-to-5 where the money's consistent. So as we see later on, when things trickle down, that's probably why he wasn't so forceful in saying stuff at first. But
what are your thoughts though about like having like opposite or like girl best friends or guy best friends in this show? Like who would take precedent? Because like there was clearly conflict between Yumi and Sei, and like he was always stuck in the middle of like who to vouch for in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think their situation's different because you can't apply that question like if guys and girls can be friends, because like we just said, we already do say like liked him. So I feel like that's already sabotaging that question. Like if it was just a normal girlfriend that had no interest in him at all, that'd be different. So I don't understand why everyone thinks if guys and girls are friends, they just want to like get with each other initially at the end. That's not the case.
Sometimes it is, but not all the time.
That's not our whole purpose in life. It's just to get together and mate, guys. You see how they say the word mate just as ridiculous as it sounds. So
so you feel some type of way about that?
Because I think it's dumb.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say I think it's dumb. And I feel like we talked about this before with a different show. Because I remember bringing up the case that's like, and you brought it up also, that's like saying like me as a female cannot be friends with like a woman who is gay because I'm going to think she's just trying to hook up with me the whole time, and vice versa with guys. Yeah,
the explanations for that kind of like get broadened out essentially.
Yeah. Again, it's just different with Sei because like I said, we already knew she liked him, so I feel like that just already muddles things. It would have been different if she didn't. So it'd been interesting if he had another female friend. She had no interest in Wung, unlike Sei. Like she was trying to sabotage from the jump. And I'm curious if she's ever done that with like any of his past girlfriends before or not, like in college. Probably. So it's just a repeat pattern.
Yeah. And like Yumi kind of brings that up, like in front of the elevator when she goes to meet them. Well, like when she goes to confront him about that, she was like, she's not a real friend because like you were saying earlier, like a real friend would not try to sabotage your relationship. So
yeah.
Poor guy, though. He was literally stuck in a rut.
Yeah. He just seemed like a very toxic person.
Yeah. But I'm glad, though, her character has also seen some growth. She kind of needed that confrontation with Yumi and him, like all three of them at like right there. Or else she would have never seen the problem with her ways, you know?
No, and then I know after that, when like Wung initially chooses Yumi, that's when he finally confronts Sei about everything. Yeah. And like he tells her, like he knew what she was doing the whole time, and she's just like trying to brush it off or like not be truthful and saying it's just like that's all in his head. It's like, no, girl, we know what you're doing. I don't know what the end goal is of your plan. If you thought it was actually going to work, and you guys would end up if you couldn't find anyone else, but so.
Yeah, that would have been horrible.
Yeah. And after all that, she ends up leaving the company. So, which I thought initially was for the best.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't see how they'd be able to continue working together after all that. Mm-hmm. She needed some space from him.
They both needed space from each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, like you said, that was the time when his company started going downhill.
Yep.
Yeah. But before we get into that, let's talk about other problematic characters. The main one, well, I see him as problematic, but we are introduced to Babi at some point in the storyline, and he is a co-worker of Yumi, but in a different department, so he works for the marketing team. However...
Yeah, we get introduced to Babi after the whole Sei thing, so this is actually a perfect segue.
Mm-hmm. And he lives in the same neighborhood as Yumi, and they quite literally run into each other when they're out running or grocery shopping and things like that. So what were your first thoughts of him? Because when they introduce him in the show, they introduce him as like a paper cutout character, and then eventually his face.
Yes, because at first, it's supposed to show like how Yumi only has eyes for Wung, so like any other guys she doesn't really see.
Yeah.
That's why he's like the little paper cutout like that, until when he runs into her when she's running and asks about her umbrella, and they find out they work together. And when he says he has a girlfriend, that's when she lets her guard down. I'm just letting you guys know, especially you, Nafis. I mean, I know you already watched the second season, but pay attention to her guard, like the guard cell. Pay attention to him and the way he acts with Babi, because it's very interesting how he changes in season 2. So just remember the head guard cell. And they're like, okay, I guess we can let our guard down. And then we see, Jin Young / you, Babi. What was the question again? I'm so sorry.
Oh, your first thoughts on him.
Oh, should I really say my first thoughts on him?
Say it.
Like I told you, and I'll bring it up again when we do season 2, like that meme with the football player. He almost got me in the first half. They almost got me in the first half. I think just originally my like a little alarm was going off. I'm like, there's just something not right about the situation. Like he seems innocent, but there's like, I just feel there's an interior motive behind it. Like he's sneaky. That's the thing. He's just sneaky. And I don't know if he knows he's being sneaky or if this is just...
I think in this season, I don't think he knows he's being sneaky. I don't think he was being purposeful or intentional.
Okay, because sometimes some things watching in season 2 makes me think, I don't know. I just don't know. There's just...
Okay, so I don't know if you remembered when he came into the episodes, like I texted you, I'm like, is this dude problematic? Do you remember that? And you were like, no, he's okay for this season. I'm like, okay. But still, he irked me the wrong way. He rubbed me the wrong way from the get-go. Even though he didn't really do anything.
Did I say he was okay? I probably also said that because I didn't remember. So I was still watching and I was like, oh, this is why I don't like him.
Yeah. But I just remember something, like you said, being off about his character. But yeah, the one thing.
Like, even after watching both seasons, I still don't know what it is, but he just rubs me the wrong way, even if it's just completely innocent. Like, feel like that's the type of person I would initially really stay away from. So
Yeah, I can't pinpoint what it is. Like, he's sweet, he's nice, thoughtful, but like, yeah.
Especially when it comes to dating and relationships, I think that's where the red flags come in. So,
but there's a motive there somewhere.
Let me start over. If it was just like a coworker or just like a friendly type person, then fine, whatever. But trying to get close to him on a personal level, especially when it comes to dating, there's just something's not right. Something.
You know what really irritated me? Let me tell you what really irritated me is how every time he ran into her, he always had to acknowledge her. You did not have to do that. If you're in the grocery store, acknowledge her. Like, if you're in the grocery store and you're shopping, you don't have to be in the same aisle as me. You could go to a different aisle. You know what I'm saying? But he purposely comes, like, she'll have her back turned and everything, and he'll be like, "Oh, Yumi, like, what are you doing?" It always seemed sneaky.
I don't know.
But yeah. But like
I mean, I guess that just shows like he had an interest in her. He just wasn't making it subtle.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it always seemed like he had an interest.
Yes. Whether he realized it then or not. And that's going to show a lot in season 2 when we say this. Yes. So again, guys, remember some of these things we're saying because there's a pattern.
There's a pattern.
Which makes me wonder, I'll say this for season 2, but it makes me wonder something that I didn't realize until I was watching season 2. But yeah. Huh. And it has to do with his first girlfriend, even though we don't see her a lot.
Yeah. Which he, by the way, breaks up with eventually in the season. And Yumi's there to witness it.
Now, I can't remember. Does she break up with him or does he break up with her?
She breaks up with him.
She breaks up with him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, that's going to go into my point later on of like there's a pattern. So
yeah, she breaks up with him and Yumi is coincidentally there, but like she's on the opposite side. So she kind of witnesses the whole thing and like her giving back the ring and everything like that. So, but yeah.
Did you already say how you felt about him? We were basically on the same page, right?
Oh, yes, 100%.
Okay. I figured that as we were discussing, but I just couldn't remember. So yeah, you Babi guys. And it's funny like how all her two main characters, or not characters, co-workers, Ruby, and I forgot the other girl's name that Yumi's pretty friendly with. I don't remember her name.
I think it's Dai, something like that. I don't remember.
Okay. When she first talked about him and she's like the second most handsome person at this company, acknowledge you, and I was like, oh God, here comes the red flags already.
Yeah. But I will say though, he did help her kind of move out of her comfort zone, even as like a coworker, because he was able to see her talent as like a writer. Because that's initially, I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but initially she wanted to be a writer. And she kind of like lost that dream just so she could, live life and afford things, which is how she ended up.
Which sounds like every creative in this entire world, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
So definitely relate to that.
Yeah. But like he kind of helps her come out of that bubble and like move to marketing and like challenge herself to do better.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, I think he's okay, but like still.
Again, a great guy. He's helpful and encouraging. But again, there's just something there that like bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm the only one who sees it, but we can also bring up, what was your next question? Because we can also bring up the hypocrisy I think you mentioned before we started recording with the question of, can guys and girls be friends? Talking about you, Babi.
Yeah. How she's like super friendly with him and everything. And then when it comes, go ahead, expand on that, please.
Well, I just mean how she was so, but I don't know, was Babi a jerk to Wung, like say he was to Yumi, or no? Because that could also make a difference why her guard wasn't as And
No.
just the way he's so
No.
like Wung is so laid back, or at
That was
first
the
he
other
didn't.
point.
Yeah,
That was the other point I wanted to bring up is like Bobby's relationship with Wung, sorry. It was just very normal. Like, because Wung is like so unassuming of things. Like, for example, when they all four went to dinner, Ruby, what's his name? Babi, Wung, and Yumi. Like, Wung was drunk and Yumi was cold, so Babi gave her his jacket, and then Wung gave Babi his jacket. So they all had like each other's jackets, but like that just shows you he doesn't come from a bad place in a sense.
I don't know, because I
but
think
Babi was intentional though.
But that he kind of, I think, saw the red flag. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Why is he giving my girlfriend a jacket? That's kind of like...
He saw it, but he didn't process it. Probably because he was drunk.
He didn't?
No, he was probably because he was drunk. No, because he never like had... They never really had like an altercation until season 2. In the later half. So I don't think they had like bad blood between them regarding Yumi.
Like he never thought he was going to steal his girl, basically. Like how Yumi could see how Sei was trying to steal Wung in that way.
And the other difference is though that Babi never tried to get in the way. Like he legitimately waited until they ran their course. Which is weird because it's like he hinted.
Yes and no at the same time.
No, he definitely hinted at it. He's like, the person I like works here and they have a U in their name.
But it was also interesting how like he would give Yumi a lot of relationship advice. Do you not think that was weird?
I don't know.
Yes and no on like a coworker friendly type way. I don't know. I also don't speak to my coworkers like that. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was weird because they did meet occasionally outside of work. So I guess if they had that level of rapport, then it's fine. So I didn't find it weird.
Especially like when he realized that Yumi and Wung were taking a break because when he walked by her desk and saw that picture of them wasn't there anymore. And when they were waiting for the bus, that's when he was telling Yumi like, if you feel like calling him, like just go exercise or run or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Because he did seem heartbroken about him and his girlfriend breaking up. But at the same time, it was like...
Yeah, he had already moved on, though. He moved on quick.
That's true, because the coworkers were like, oh, who does you Babi like? Especially that one guy in the marketing department.
Right. Like, mind your business. I
don't know his name, but like he pissed me off when he saw Yumi getting out of the taxi and he kind of hid. And then when Yumi walked by, he's like, oh, Yumi, was that your boyfriend? It's like, where the hell did you come from? It's like, yes.
It's like, why do you want to know?
He's like, oh, I thought you were... So you and Babi are not together? I'm like, again, you need to back up. This is not your...
Yeah.
You don't need to know this. Why are you so interested?
And that's when she became more like aware of it at work. Like, so she put up that picture of her and Wung, and like she kept the, what's it called? The keyboard.
Yeah.
Like she was making it very obvious that there's nothing between her.
And then when they were sitting at the table to figure out who Babi liked, and their like name starts with a U, and it's like, sir, do you want to date you, Babi? Because it kind of seems like you want to date him. A little too nosy there.
You sound so mad about this.
He pissed me off so much. I hate nosy people like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, if we're not on a friend level like that, you need to back up. And he was so aggressive about it, too.
Yeah. It's like, I need to have an answer.
And what are you going to do with this answer, sir?
Right.
How does this pertain to you? How does this help your life? Get away from me. If this is not about work, we don't need to talk about it.
But Babi being Babi, dropping hints before he could do anything.
Yeah.
But he's an interesting one to look out for.
Yeah, and we'll see more of him season 2, so look out for that. What other questions did you guys have? Or did you have, not you guys, like you're more than one person?
I wanted to talk about Wung's company and how it's like started not doing well.
Okay, great, yes. So we mentioned how it started kind of going downhill after Sei left, and she actually ends up joining like a legit company that I guess were recruiting her for a while. So it ends up just being him and Lewis.
Yeah. So Sei was actually like very, very talented, but because of her like feelings for Wung, it just everything got muddled up.
And I wonder, like, because they don't talk about like what their positions were. Like, obviously she helped with the actual like designing of the game and stuff, but I wonder if she was also in charge of maybe like communications with like people or like finances, because she must have played an important role for when she left for everything to go downhill like that.
Yeah.
Which might have been another reason why he kept her
quiet. Yeah.
Yes. But like, that's another thing. Mixing work with relationship people. God, just.
It's not
But it's also not that great out in these streets. Every time I hear about people on these dating apps, it's like, it just seems like trash everywhere. But hey, what do I know? I'm gonna be single forever.
What do two single people know?
Exactly.
But yeah, so like his company's not doing well, so he has to sell his thing little by little. And during this like phase, he's been really, I don't want to say indifferent, but like he's been weird with Yumi, and she started noticing. And so at this point, I think he had already sold his apartment and he was living at his office. So she goes into like this full detective mode where she just wants to know what's going on with him because he's being very distant. And so eventually she finds out, she goes to the office and she finds him sleeping there. And so they have this talk and she suggests that he move in with her for the time being. But you see, for her, though, this was like the next rational step. But for him, it was like, oh my God, I don't want to be a burden to you. I want to figure this out on my own, by myself. And so she was like, no, you're coming with me. And so like they move in together, they live together for some time. And that's when like you kind of see like his personality show up a little bit, because he's very prideful as a person. And like he just doesn't want to take help. Like, what did you think about that aspect of him?
I mean, at first I was kind of shocked because like when we would see like them, you know, living together, it seemed like it was going great.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know he's down because like he's basically becoming broke, but like they were rearranging stuff together. Mm-hmm. They were cleaning, seemed like they were having a lot of good, you know, fun time together. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
So it seemed like it was going okay.
Yeah.
But like you said, he's a very prideful person. And he's also, yes, I'm going to say this, he is a man. He's a very prideful man. Yeah. So when you mix those two things together, mm-hmm. Sometimes, you know, it causes some conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So he was already kind of kicking himself. Like, not only did he lose his house, I think he wasn't that hurt. I mean, obviously, anyone losing their house, they're going to be hurt by it. But him moving in with his girlfriend, was hurt by it,
though. Yeah.
I think he was a little hurt by that.
Because remember, he says that, like, because Yumi brought it up. She's like, you sold your apartment. He's like, yeah. In order to make like a dream work, you have to do things you don't want to. But he wasn't like too bothered by it, I don't think.
That's true. Oh, we also forgot one of their major fights where she confronts Days when she finds out she moves in the same building as him.
Oh, yeah.
But it's yeah, that was one of the things also. But it's fine. We're already past that. Yeah. This is already long. It's too late. Just go watch the show if you haven't already. Although I hope you did, because we kind of spoiled a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, but still, I think just moving in with her, like seeing she has a job.
She has it together.
And it's her house. Because I don't know if it would have been different if she was in like some type of situation like that and she moved in with him. But I don't know what the culture is like when it comes to couples who are not married living together in Korea. I mean, even here, like they say sometimes moving in together can make or break a relationship. Yeah. But it's not that stigmatized if like you guys are only dating if you live together. So because what we see and we'll bring up again later is how I brought up that guy who works with Yumi and he saw her getting out the taxi and Wung was there and he was saying bye. She said that he was in town visiting and Wung was already living with her at that time. Oh. So she didn't even say that he was living with her.
Okay.
She said, my boyfriend just happened to be visiting me and he is dropping me off before he goes home.
Good point.
Yeah. So again, I don't know the stigma of like couples who aren't married
living together.
Yeah, because I know a lot of them too, like they still live with the family for a very long time, I think.
Yeah, that's actually quite normal in Asian culture. I can say that because I'm Asian, but
Yeah. So that's one thing that showed the trickling down.
But I feel like, that they were doing so well until
they were.
His personal situation started affecting his relationship with her, because over time, he would go and pick up Yumi from the bus stop when she'd come back, and naturally Babi would be with her because they live in the same neighborhood. But I felt like the more he saw her with him, the more he realized how bad his situation was, and that made him even more insecure. And it's okay, do you think he compared himself to Babi at many points?
Probably, because again, like I said, that male pride of you have to be the one providing everything for your partner and having the good job. And when he probably, especially in that one specific last scene when he went to go get the groceries, couldn't even afford a bag, and he was walking to go pick Yumi up from the bus stop and saw them. He's she's standing there with a guy who probably has his stuff together, even though they're coworkers, and I'm here and my house clothes, carrying groceries. I can't afford a bag. I'm living with my girlfriend. I have no money. What am I doing? That's when it really kind of hit him. And that's when his, I'll say, male ego came out. Because it's I'm supposed to be the provider, not her. So.
Yeah, you can tell it really got to him. And conveniently enough, on their way back, I think it was that same night, she asked, they've been talking about marriage, but this was when she actually mustered up the courage to ask him do you want to get married?
No, so they talked about marriage before. He kind of brushed it off. It was around his birthday, and then they never talked about it again, because when she was asking him what's wrong, she asked him, is it because I asked if you wanted to get married?
Oh, okay. That's right. Yeah.
And that whole fiasco happened because she ran into her ex-boyfriend.
Oh, right.
Yeah, in town. And then when she runs into the ex-boyfriend, we find out that they were together for 7 years. So basically her whole 20s, they were together. And then he broke up with her. And there's a couple scenes we see when she runs after him in the rain. He gets in the car with another woman. So he was basically cheating on Yumi. And that's why she was in a relationship for 3 years. And when she sees him at colleagues, which is also interesting in their culture, where you go to people you went to school with, weddings. Because I don't talk to anybody that I used to go to school with, not even people I were friends with, let alone people I weren't friends with. But that's just a culture difference I'm not going to understand. And then the whole time I think she thinks he's trying to get back together with her, but he reveals that he is getting married to the girl that he cheated on her with. And sensitivity cell, this is why I said you need to lock up sensitivity cell, goes into the whole spiel of oh yeah, well, I'm going to get married with my boyfriend too. We're probably going to go to Hawaii and all that. And that's kind of starts the rumors of.
So her fragile ego came out too.
Yes. Her fragile female ego of I'm 32 and I'm at the age where I should be getting married, even though you know what? Again, we're not going to get into this. That came out and started the whole rumor of her and Wung getting married. And that's when it started planting into her maybe I should marry Wung. He's a great guy. Things are going great. And then when she finally asked him, that's when he kind of pushed it off, because he never initially wanted to get married. Because there's also a scene where Love Cell kind of goes into Wung's body to see his priorities. She finds this whole ocean, and at the very deep, I'm talking where we don't even know what type of animals exist, type ocean, was there a box that says potential of getting married, and it was buried under there. So even though later on it does float up the possibility with Yumi, but he still never saw that in his future, basically.
But he handled it really well, though. At the wedding.
Yeah.
When he was confronted about that room, he was like, what?
Yeah. He played it off great, but I would have played it off and be like, okay, we need to talk about this as soon as we get home.
What was that?
That's another problem. They never talked about it again afterwards.
See, that is their problem, is that they just don't communicate.
Communication.
I feel like it's the answer to everything because it is the answer to everything.
I feel like we always say this. We always say this every time we talk about romantic shows. No communication.
Yeah. I don't want to say no communication. It was just like very misrepresented communication.
It was the lack of communication of important matters. Let's say that.
Because, I mean, they communicated, but it's just, like you said, not the important stuff.
Yes. So because of that miscommunication, we go through all the spiraling to the bus scene that we were just talking about of him. When she asks, like, is it because of I asked you if you wanted to get married? He doesn't even say that. He's just like, I'm just going to leave.
I understand his leaving, though, but I really wish he talked to her about it, like the reasoning behind.
Yeah, because he didn't say the real reason. He's not like, and because like I don't even know she knew the whole severity of his situation like being broke. Because again, they didn't talk about it. So she thinks he's just being like, because he doesn't want to be with me type thing, not because I'm pretty down bad. Like I can't not only support myself, but like in the future I wouldn't be able to support you. So kind of I understand it, like marriage is the last thing I'm really worried about. But tell her that.
But I can understand, though, why Yumi thought it was her because of her ex. So I can understand her thought process. But again, I wish they talked about it. But yeah.
Yeah. So that whole fiasco.
With that being said, that eventually leads to their breakup.
Which she didn't want to do. Like she wanted to break up with him, but then like she hesitated. And I'm also wondering if that's because that's her first time really breaking up with someone. So. I think she always got dumped.
Which, I mean, in the end, she really did get dumped. But hey,
It came to a mutual understanding. They both shared the same breakup card, okay? But it took a while because when she first was going to do it, she couldn't do it. And it was also funny how like Wung was kind of preventing her from breaking up with her because we see like he knew that she was trying to. And he was being extra nice and like cautious and being like extra boyfriendy at that time until she says, I think we need to take a break, which I don't know why people freak out so much when they hear that phrase, we need to take a break. Because even then she wasn't really breaking up with him at first. She's just like, we spend so much time together. I think we need some time apart to like refigure ourselves out like individuals, whether it's like just being by ourselves, seeing our friends more, rationalizing where this relationship is going without the influence of each other. And if it ends up in a breakup, it ends in a breakup. If it doesn't, then we'll continue being together. But every time people hear we need a break, they're automatically like, oh, we're breaking up. Which sometimes it leads to that, but other times it doesn't.
That's true. But more likely, if you're on a break, you end up breaking up, though.
I mean, yes, but still, I need people to start doing better mindsets. If you hear we just need a break, just use that time to assess where you guys are as individuals and as a couple and how you can come together. And if it's no longer working for both of you, then that's fine. But if you can find a way through this break, to come back together, that'd be great. But that's also speaking too much because also during times of like, we need a break is when a lot of people go and cheat. So
that is true. It's a double-edged sword, really. So just take it out how it is.
Yeah. I
feel like a lot of things in life.
I realized that the more I kept talking, I was like, never mind.
A lot of things in life are a double-edged sword. So it's really how you want to utilize it.
Yes. But yeah, so we get through all that and then we see Love Cells, contemplating a lot about breaking or throwing that card. So,
which eventually they both did. So they never really go through as to why he wanted to break up, but just that he did. But we see Yumi's rationale as to why she wanted to. But eventually,
I think we see Wung's in season 2. And I really wish, because he tells her some type of good news, which we find out is not good news. I'm like, I don't understand why he just does not tell her what is happening. I really feel like if he told her what was truly happening, that even could have prevented their breakup. I don't know. Again, it goes into the whole male, like, I'm supposed to be providing everything.
But I can see,
maybe they would have.
I can see why though, because like, in that like whole dating marriage aspect, if you're not a strong contender, so to speak, right? Like people will look at you as like a weak person. So I guess from that perspective, he didn't want to be seen as a weak person, even though he's going through like quite a big storm. So I understand why he didn't say anything, but at the same time though, like this is somebody you've lived with, you've got to understand, like you know how they are. Like she's not the type to think of you as a weaker person.
Yeah.
Like if she's going to break up with you, it's going to be for a different reason, not because of that specifically.
Because you saw their relationship dwindling in the last episode. You know, they had that. I forgot what that thing is actually called. They use it for holidays. You know, that thing that like gore and you throw like bean bags at it to try to get it to open. Because the cells kept throwing it at that every time Wung made her upset. And then the final straw was that text message she sent and his short response. And I don't remember which cell actually broke it because that's when the initial like breakup with him started. So
because like if now that we're talking about it, like if she really was that type of person, she would have broken up with him in his office when she found out that he was living out of his office, you know?
Yeah.
So like, yeah. A little bit more trust from his side would have been nice.
Trust or like just talking. I don't know. Yeah. Mostly the trust though, I feel like.
Obvious that they both genuinely liked each other, but it was just missing that component.
Yeah. You're right. I think it was the trust.
It just wasn't
there.
Not at the strength that it needed to be, at least. So
no. But yeah. And then
so that's where they leave off and pick right up in season 2.
Yeah, and then at the end, I don't know if you remembered, but it shows, I guess he was her third official relationship, it said. And it said that they were together for a year, 1 month and 4 days, or 4 months and 4 days. I don't remember, but it about a year. Which I don't know why before I rewatched it, I thought they were together longer.
No. It's really not.
That's not really that long.
Yeah.
They move fast.
They did.
Well, I won't say that. Everyone's relationship moves at a different pace, guys.
But yeah, so that was essentially the show. What were your final thoughts?
I was sad. I was actually really rooting for them.
Yeah, me too.
I was yeah. Like Tyra Banks, I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Especially when we get to season 2, I was like, you know what? If y'all want to change the story, don't even bother bringing the third boyfriend and just get Wung and Yumi back together. That is fine with me. All of season 2, I was like, can they just get back together? I don't think I've ever rooted for a fictional couple as much as I have for Yumi and Wung. And of course, that didn't happen.
I'm sorry, but Babi just never fit. He's a great dude, but he's just never fit.
He was the rebound, and I will say it with confidence. He was the rebound.
Actually, now that you bring it up, they're both each other's rebound.
I feel like he was more of a rebound for her. I don't know about Babi, because like I said, and I'll bring it up next time we talk about season 2, there seems to be a pattern with him. But
I thought the show was really, really well done. The cells definitely carried the show. Because, like, that internal conflict and how to respond in reality was so well done. Loved it. The cinematography was great. And I want to talk about
animation was beautiful.
Yes. The background music was also really good, too, because it really helped move the plot along. So, loved it.
That one song, the main song, Night Falling, I actually don't really download OSTs, but I actually download that one. I actually really like that song. It's really pretty.
Really, really liked it. So overall, I was surprisingly impressed with how good it was.
Yes.
So I give it, what would you rate it?
Probably a 9.5 out of 10.
I was going to say 9 out of 10, but yeah, it's up there.
Yes, I really enjoyed this show. So again, everything some way you can relate to it, I feel like.
Yeah.
And they do a good job at showing, like Nafis was saying, usually people's inner conflict with how they perceive themselves out in the real world. Is that like the persona, basically? So.
Yeah. It's like you're screaming inside, but what comes out is like totally different. Yeah.
Exactly. And I can't remember. After this, does Love Cell go back into a coma or no? She's just awake.
I think she disappears. She doesn't go in.
No, I think she does go back into.
I don't think so.
In a coma. I think she does.
I don't remember.
I think she does.
She's either locked away or, like you said, goes back into a coma.
I think she goes back into a coma. Yes, because the first episode of season 2, already spoil, because that's why I always say Babi was the rebound, because it shows when she's in a coma. So Love Cell goes back to a coma.
A coma. Okay, now we're kind of getting into season 2, because now I'm just thinking, wait.
It's fine, but yes, she does.
Oh, yeah, you're right, because he comes and asks her, or he says to the other cells they can't make a decision about him until, like, Love says something.
Yeah. Since Love Cell is her prime cell.
What's your primary cell? Quote unquote.
It's not Love Cell, I'll tell you that. I don't know, actually.
Mine is Hunger. I think mine is Hunger.
Which is funny because Hunger is her biggest cell, but it's not her prime cell.
Yeah.
Maybe mine might be the reason. Or maybe mine, like, they don't bring it up in the show, but in the webcomic, there's a lot of fusion cells. So mine might be reason fused with something else. I just don't know what that other cell might be.
Gotcha. So overall, like, compared to the webtoon, what did you think? I think you mentioned this earlier that they did pretty good.
Yeah, they did a good job. Of course, like I said, with like books and like webcomics, it's easier to prolong the story and give more detail and add more characters. And you can't really do that in like a 14 episode TV show, even though they're all hour longs, but still. But I think they got the main points across, basically.
Good, yeah. Were there any details you felt they should have included?
I would have been more interested in seeing like fusion cells, like I just mentioned. I didn't mention this at the beginning, which I meant to mention. When Wung first meets Yumi, he actually has a fusion cell, which prevents him from... Because I don't know when the last time he's been in a relationship, but his love cell and his hobby cell was actually fused together, and they called it his geek cell. And it wasn't until he takes Yumi to the hospital, or was it the hospital or the first date? I think it was their first date, where it actually separates back into the love and the hobbies. So I'd like to see more of that, because there's another thing that they changed. Hysteria, which is the reason why Yumi leaves early at their first date and why her emotions like change, was more prominent, because when she goes into the hospital, she was actually going to just leave because hysteria was like messing with her, and her inner feeling cell and her confidence cell actually fused together, which is the reason why she asked Wung on a second date. So maybe just more of that. But we even don't really see inner feeling cells that much. And her inner feeling cell plays a big role in the webcomic, kind of more than Love Cell does in the show. But it's fine. I mean, like I said, some things need to change. So
yeah, because whenever like they showed like her inner feelings, quote unquote, it's typically the sensitivity cell that responds to that. So yeah, okay.
Yes, sensitivity or her love cell.
Yeah.
But they're two different things in the webcomic.
Gotcha. All right. Any final thoughts?
Not really. We talked a lot longer than I thought we were going to. So I had a lot to say.
I'm looking at the time. I'm like, whoa.
Yes. Again, really enjoy Yumi Cells. I know there's some things we didn't talk about, but hey, we brushed up on the importance, right? So look out for when we do season 2. It's going to pick up right off, and you'll understand why we do not like you, Babi. We love Park Jin-young, hate you, Babi.
Yeah. Great actor, by the way, because he actually really made me dislike his character. So
exactly. Now, I remember, before we go real quick, because I mentioned this a little bit, I don't feel as strongly as I did as the first time I watched this. Yeah. How we were like, Yumi is kind of a little bit annoying. Do you still feel like she's a little bit annoying, or?
So first season, I did feel like she was annoying. But second season, I think it's just because I kind of understand her better. So she's less annoying. She's not.
As we talk about her reasoning, now we can understand, relate more. Okay. Yeah.
Because there was a lot of things she would do that I would just find irritating.
I get it.
And like, I talked to you about it too. I was like, what? Did you find her irritating too, or is it just me? But like, over time, she's grown on me. Her haircut too.
You and this haircut. Yeah. Well, at least her hair gets longer, so you don't have to worry about the bob. And I'm sure she cut her hair like that after the breakup. So
changes.
You know how they say women go through dramatic like hair changes.
Because it's the one thing they can change. That type of thing.
Whatever.
But yeah, that is it from me.
Yeah.
Go watch Yumi Cells, guys.
Yes. Hopefully you watched it, like I said before you listen to this. Because we spoiled everything, so.
Quite literally.
But let us know your thoughts on the show, on the characters. Who's your favorite character? Which, character you relate to the most, which cell you relate to the most, who you think your prime cell is, and join us next time for season 2. So that is a wrap on this episode of I Was Thinking. If you have any comments, questions, no concerns, you can email us at iwasthinkingpod@gmail.com, and do not forget to follow us on our socials, Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for following us on Instagram, guys. We're getting up there at I Was Thinking Pod. Was there anything else?
Nope.
Please rate us some stars. It'd be nice to rate us some. Just let us know you guys are listening. I know you're listening, but some feedback would be nice. As long as they're nice. If you got anything mean to say, you can keep it to yourself. And yeah, join us whenever we come back. Because like I said, we're not consistent. We try, but we have real life, guys. So we will come to you whenever we can. On the next episode of I Was Thinking, I was your host, Simone, and it's been a pleasure. I was your host,
Nafis. See you later.
Okay, bye. I gotta end it like a news report,
Bye.
Okay, bye, guys. Seriously.